Thank you for staying with us. We had a chat with a political scientist to analyze the country Nigeria and also to let us know how things were and how things ought to be in the country today. Mr. Isitoah Ozomene has this to say.
My name is Ozomene Isitoah. I teach political science at the College of Education, Warri. I'm from Delta State, Nigeria. I'm also a unionist, having served as the chairman of the academic staff union of my institution. When the question is asked, my Nigeria of today, of yesterday, of today, of tomorrow, one has a little bit of nostalgia when you begin to look at what it used to be and what it is. Often it is said that where I come from, if you don't know where you are coming from, there's no way you will be able to understand where you are and be able to project into the future. So it becomes a story that is told that this country, for those persons who are young today, who are born in recent times, that the country that is theirs was a country so respected, was a country that has a lot of things going for it. But today, the story is different. I would say that in every sector, we were doing very, very well. Some of us had opportunity of going to federal universities, and we know exactly what it was. There was this desire for perfection. There was this desire for merit as against ascription that you find everywhere. People were proud to be Nigerian because elsewhere Nigerians were so respected. Africans were trooping to Nigeria. Nigeria was the big brother Africa, not in the way and manner it is being projected today. Nigeria was in the forefront of independence struggle for all the African countries. Nigeria was granting scholarship. In the university where I attended, I know a whole lot of South African students were under Nigerian scholarship. They had accommodation before me, who is a Nigerian. I am in the education sector. If you hear this, they will say the standard of education has fallen. And you ask yourself, how will the standard of education fallen? I started hearing this a long time ago. I will wonder what phrase will be used now to describe how bad it is. Then because when someone is in the secondary school, they used to have what they call G4, government class 4. With government class 4, you are employable. A lot of persons ended with government class 4. So education was so well organized there. If you hear the names of the school back in the days, every child aspires to be a student admitted into the school. Within this environment, you hear about schools like Asaba Technical College. You hear about PVC, Pilgrim Baptist Vocational School, Eseloku, Edo College, Benin, IC, Immaculate Conception, in Warrior, Hosi College, and rest of them. Back in the days, one of the biggest beauty you have is sports meets, especially during inter-house sports. When you hear what they call invitational relay, when you hear the names of the school that will be rolled out, it's such an excitement then. There was so much competition in everywhere. Just limiting myself to education. On the economy, I don't know if you know that some time ago, at the time some of us were born, the Nigerian naira was at par with the American dollar. I was even told that before then, it was even more. Nigeria was higher, about what is probably 75 naira today. What is the exchange rate today? We were able to feed ourselves. Things were working fine. Today we rely virtually on everything. The worst thing that is happening to us is in the petroleum sector, which is the sustenance of the country today. Back then it was not petrol. It was agriculture. You may not have had the opportunity of looking at calendars in those days. It's what they call granite pyramid in the north. If you know what a pyramid is, look at Egypt, for instance. That was the way it was back in the days. The rubber was there. The cocoa was there. The West developed. They did everything they did in agriculture. In fact, majority of the areas that developed there, and even the West that was giving free education, they did not do it with oil. Today, agriculture has been thrown behind, and everybody's relying on oil. And even the wealth that is being generated from the oil is not properly managed. It's one of our biggest problems. So I'm just, for time's sake, just highlighting. So when you talk about our economy, everyone was mindful of what they had. Today, everybody's looking into oil. But then, everybody was looking at the resources within their own area, develop what they have a comparative advantage, and they were managing it. We were not just importing everything. We were feeding ourselves. Today is a different ball game. Things became very bad for us when the political class seriously divided along ethnic and sectional lines, began to pursue this ethnic agenda. And before we know it, we got ourselves boxed in when we could not manage electoral practices that is done in other society, resulting in serious mayhem and, of course, the military struck. When the military came into government, in most other places, it was supposed to be a transition. The military has a responsibility to protect society from breaking down. They are not the one to manage the affairs of the state. But when the military came, what happened? They will not go. And so we're saying Nigeria is 50 or whatever. More than the number of years of this independence was spent under a military dictatorship, from one to the other. In fact, we lost totally the democratic norms, what it should be. We fought a bitter civil war that did a lot of damage, further divided the country. Up to today, some persons have not been reunited as they ought to be. And a section of this country now is now asking that they should be allowed to break up. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. So, even when we now came back under a democratic regime, what had been the problem? The same political class that got us to the level where the country was almost divided are still carrying on as nothing had happened. There is still ethnicity, there is still regionalism, there is still religion as the key dividing factors of this country. Majority of the persons who inherited power when we came back on stream, democracy in quote, were also from the military background. Even as we speak today, who is the president of Nigeria? From the military. Before now, we have the Obasanjos. The orientation, the management of the society also have not reflected that democratic understanding. So today, we have a government where the elite are simply concerned about themselves. There are no leaders among them. What each person wants to get is his own personal interest. That is why you will find the things that you cannot hear in other climes. I don't know if you have seen a society where a man wins a ticket on a political party and moves to another party and he still holds that office. Today, you are in one political party. Tomorrow, you go to another party. Next tomorrow, you come back to where you are. Sometimes we see you tear your card. I've never seen where it's done in a civilized climb. Are you understanding it? And I'm a political science teacher, and I tell my students there are no political parties in Nigeria in the right sense of word. There are no ideological divide. There are no orientation. You cannot tell the difference in their program. There's really no program. There's no manifesto. We are still thinking that it will be well with our society if we get things right. And my understanding is that it can only get right if the generation of today that will inherit powers from the political class of today and become the political class of tomorrow do things differently. The reason is this. Young persons have the capacity for change. They can learn something new and they can change. They will understand that I probably wasn't getting it right before with the information available to me. The type of education we have today gives you access to, you can be in this country and you are everywhere. Are you understanding it? The problem with the elders, the people we are talking about today, is that, like they say in my place, you cannot learn how to use left hand at old age. Are you understanding it? The old people find it very difficult to change their perception. They tell you, sit down there, before you were born, we have been doing this. The question they are asking is, how has that thing you are doing over the years benefited us or changed situations? That's why they are different from the young persons. So the young persons must see themselves as agents of change. They must begin to see Nigeria from a different perspective, that this country has potential. They, the young persons, have potentials. Through education, they can make things happen in this country. That's my desire. That's the Nigeria that I pray for. Here I am, I'm a teacher. In the classroom, this is the same thing I tell my students. I try as best as possible to ensure that I give the best that I can. And I encourage them also to grow in that respect and to do the best for our society. I have a belief, I have that trust that our young persons can make this country to be where it wants to be, because presently we are not there. God bless Nigeria.